I know it's crazy, but it's
You're watching Channel Z, the world's leading zombie apocalypse channel. Broadcasting live from Studio Z.
Makes me act the way I do.
Welcome to Undead Live, reporting from the front lines of the zombie apocalypse. We have your back morning, noon, and night, whether you're dead, undead, recently deceased, or fully alive. Now, my co-host, Dave. Dave, are you in the studio today? Are you there? Whoa, hey!
Hey, Liz, how's it going?
It's going good. You seem like you are prepared for today's show.
Yep, I'm prepared for another exciting day in the zombie apocalypse. So how are you doing?
Good. I know Alana is commenting already on the stream. It's so good to see you in the studio. I agree. I hope the perimeter is still safe, that you can get out and get back where you need to be after the show.
So far, other than, being zombified by capitalism, which is...
That is the topic of today's show. So we have like a full show today. We might be smashing some things. We definitely have a guest that we're going to bring on in a minute. But I have a question for you, Dave, which is, what was the moment that you knew that you hated capitalism? Because I hate capitalism.
That's a good question, because before I really knew what capitalism was, as a kid under Reagan, there was a scare. And my mom was like waiting in line for to get money out of the bank, and she was like, she needed like $400 to pay. This is sort of, I was pretty little, and I was like, oh wait, we don't get to live here unless we take money from one else. And I think that was probably it. So that, or Legos being too expensive when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh, the trauma of all of your friends getting to buy toys when you couldn't buy toys, right? That's a thing too. But yeah, I think that there's these echoes from childhood, right? That we're now feeling even more so because of the pandemic. I think I knew I hated capitalism for a while, but now I'm like viciously anti-capitalism because of the pandemic. So that is. That's our show today. I'm excited.
All right. Yeah, me too.
So I do want to say, first of all, so if you're watching this today, make sure that you comment below, you hit us up in the live chat, and you tell us what you hate about capitalism, or, love, I guess, if you love capitalism. We'd like to hear from you as well. Our robot overlords really appreciate it when you like and you comment on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, so please appease them. And while you're down there, please smash that like button. Straight up destroy it, like we might be destroying some things in studio today with Dave.
That's right. We have things here where we have symbols of capitalism, and people can decide today which ones they want me to smash. So
I know, I'm so excited. And I think that everybody watching, everybody is really excited as well. I think Katie is noting that you're the apocalyptic Mr. Rogers. I think that's totally right.
Yeah,
we're excited.
Neighbors. So.
Exactly. I think maybe we should bring on our guest quickly, if that sounds good. Okay, cool. So we are going to be joined today by Dr. Kone. Hello, Mzilikazi.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I am still excited to see how ready you are, Dave. I feel like I need to get more prepared myself for all of the zombies that abound.
You got to do more apocalypse shopping, really. That's the key. Right.
But that's wild, though. More shopping just to be prepared for the apocalypse. It's kind of like, I don't know.
To be prepared for the capitalism apocalypse, can we buy our way out?
What I'm so excited about, Mzilikazi, is that not only are you a professor of political science, but this is a crossover episode again for Channel Z, because we also do zombie history, where we think about resistance, right? And we think about like unearthing these buried pasts and looking at the ways that our present circumstances are zombifying us. So I want to bring on this comment to get conversation started from Lizzie, who really hates the grind. The grind culture, the hustle culture is what I call it, that capitalism has created. That basically, if you're not working, you're wasting time. So I think maybe starting with what is capitalism? What stage of capitalism are we in now? Is a really good starting point. So maybe Dr. Kone, if you'd like to begin.
Sure. So capitalism is an economic system, right? And it's based on ultimately it's based on the private ownership of goods alongside everybody else. So a capitalist is going to be someone who owns the means of production, right? And then gets folks like the rest of us to work those means of production. But the capitalists, right, the owners, ultimately making the most profit, right? So it's a system where you've got owners and you've got workers. Right, you've got capitalists, you've got the proletariat, and while most of us might think that we are capitalists or that we might be just the Bezos, tomorrow or the next day, the most of us are the workers. The sheer most of us are the proletariat, even if you find that your mindset is in line with the owners, the capitalists.
So can I ask you a question that I've been trying to figure out this weekend? Is every transaction where you exchange goods for services capitalism, or is it just where the person who's doing the job is separate from the person who owns the place where the job is being done? Because I'm not quite sure on that point, right?
Sure. I mean, that's a good question. And because I think, Dave, when I hear that question, it makes me think of other exchanges in other eras, right? If I have some beans and you have some corn, is our trade inherently capitalist? And I'm not sure that it is, particularly if it's like in that example, if we are going to trade things, right? So I think that there's room for recognizing other kinds of economic systems, that it's not necessarily capitalist to the extreme that we're talking about. I don't know. Again, an Amazon example, right? Or something where someone is really owning a vast majority of the means of production. So the majority of the critique here, Dave, I think lies when we're thinking about this mass ownership and where that leaves a minority of people who become owners and the majority of people in the world who are workers. Oh, I see this definition here for late-stage capitalism, which is really being discussed really very often now. When you talk about late-stage capitalism, you are really highlighting some of the absurdities and indignities of the system, which gets back to Lizzie's point earlier, this sense that if you're not working or if you're not making money or if you don't have passive forms of income, that you're just not doing capitalism right. As opposed to this idea that, like, if you have one job, it ought to be the thing that allows you to survive, and that you're not that you need 5 jobs or streams of income to be able to survive in the system. So it goes hand in hand with this grind set culture or this hashtag girl boss culture, that if you're not working a bunch of jobs or thinking of the next job or thinking of the next form of income, that you're really wasting your life, which is in real contrast to a life that is dependent on rest, dependent on community, right? It's like capitalism or bust.
So what late stage capitalism? What does that mean?
Oh, Liz had a
let's talk about late stage capitalism, right? Because I think that's the effects of what we're feeling now. But also, I mean, it's the things that you just mentioned, Mzilikazi, right? But it's this there were all of these economists and political theorists, right, post World War II, that were like, hey, something weird is happening with capitalism, and it's just kind of getting worse and worse. Right. So there's these multinational capital, there's mass consumption, there's these global markets that are out of control, and we're feeling the effects of them more now because of the pandemic, because the supply chain is breaking down. Right. Because we're being exploited ever more. Our labor is being exploited ever more. Does that sound right to y'all? What do you think, Mzilikazi, Dave?
Sounds right to me. I'm thinking about extraction to the max. Right. When you think about something that has a finite resource like gasoline, right? There's only so many dead dinosaurs. So something that is going to be, it's not going to exist forever. And yet we still try to extract it until there's none left. Right. Yes. Or something else along those lines of mass extraction.
I keep wondering, like, are we moving more and more towards a stage where most people will own absolutely nothing, and just a very small percentage of people will own everything? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I think that's right.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Likazi. I think that I wanted to bring this up because you're going to say something.
Well, just thinking about that in terms of buying home ownership, or who can afford to do that, or even thinking through generational wealth. Like the only folks that I know who've been successful, and like I'm so happy for them, are those who've been able to have the generational wealth. That means the assistance of parents or grandparents in order to even participate in the system, right? So you're kept out unless you have some generations who've been able to save, put some money aside for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this comment from Erica, this astronomical debt and this corporate welfare culture is considered capitalism. But when you think about that on a human level, right, we think of those as personal failures. Is that, what is it? It's gatekeep, girl boss, something, right? Like that culture. Yeah. So yeah, Dave, I think so.
That's the personal failure, though. I just want to speak to that sense that somehow someone not being able to own a house or afford a car or participate in the system to the way that they want is somehow a personal failure, as opposed to something systematic, right? Something system-wide, and thus not a personal failure, but more a reflection of the system in which we live in. For example, we can think of these movements to clear out homeless encampments. These are places where unhoused people are camping and living together to exist and to live. There's been news about New York clearing out massive homeless encampments, and of course, we're no stranger to that on the West Coast. So, what is absurd about this is that we should have housing across the United States to house every unhoused person, but we'd rather, right, as a system, take people's belongings, take people's tents, throw people's things away, then house them. So we'd rather put them into a carceral system, police the unhoused people, rather than simply house them in the empty houses and apartments that we have existing across the United
States. Be cheaper. It would be cheaper. It would be better for society, right? And I think that's right. I think it's exhaustive. It's demoralizing, right? Like this, and we didn't even talk about things like gig work and like how absurd it is that people are being paid criminal wages and things like that, right? But I know we're going to move on to the next segment really quickly, but I wonder, like, Dave, what can we do? Why is it like this?
So this is a good question. I actually had two questions that came up as we were thinking about this. One is, well, hey, we were told the free market was going to take care of this. Why didn't that happen? But then the other thing is, what is our other option, right? Is it now to just start smashing things? Is our only other option anarchy? Or are there, is there another way? And if so, let me know.
What is it? I think we're going to get to that. So we're going to end with hope, maybe. But I do want to bring up, and we'll maybe bring this up again. Stuart has. This sounds like communism. Maybe we're talking about communism. Maybe we're talking about anarchy, Dave. But yeah, I mean, I think that we've been taught. A lot of us were taught. Like I was taught in grade school that communism equals evil, right? And communism maybe didn't work. Right? Maybe communism isn't the answer. Maybe it's that we need to come up with the answer together. But we'll get to that
So I could start smashing things.
I think maybe it's time to start smashing things, Dave. What do you have there in the studio?
Well, here's what we have, and you guys can vote. We've got Pepsi, which, interesting, somebody stole one of these out of the fridge. So they moved past the ownership state. And we've got Starbucks, who I know have been having, people have been trying to unionize. We have Nestle, which I know sets up, sends people baby formula. Then we also have these other things. We have Ben and Jerry's, so I actually thought, oh, maybe they're not that bad. And then I looked them up, and I'm like, they've had their own problems. Same with even Paul Newman has had his own problem. And then we've got, this is one of my favorites. We've got, remember these chargers that Apple would make you buy a new charger every time you got a new computer? That, I think, was one of my favorite. So we've got some sort of we've got some anti-worker stuff with Starbucks. We've got some anti-consumer stuff with this. I've got an old iPhone we can smash. So I don't know. Should we smash one thing and then talk about solutions?
I think that's perfect.
We
have some things.
I'll destroy the charger while we think of.
All right, perfect. And I mean,
the charger's worth so much money.
It's the old one. That's the thing. It's not worth anything anymore. So, all right, ready? Here we go. Are we going to move that? We're going to bring the camera in. So do you guys want to discuss the pros and cons while we get set up for?
Yeah, I mean, let's
Smashing it?
get set up,
Okay,
and in the
smash it.
background, I mean, we have some people. There's some people that are like, destroy that charger, Dave. This is catharsis.
Right. So I also destroy the last generation iPhone.
Oh, we
Ooh.
have an iPhone too, y'all. People in chat. What about the
Oh
iPhone?
no.
No.
I keep thinking about all the children who dug in cobalt mines to make that iPhone.
I mean,
That's the
yeah.
model also.
I mean, the reality is of those extractive resources that are ultimately going to be finite resources. So that's I want to smash it. Look, I'm ready to burn it even. But
Should we
the
go?
practicality of it, I'm thinking of those kids who did that child labor to make all of our smartphones.
That's true. But what else could I do with it, right? Like it's old.
I don't
It's
know.
like
You go for it, Dave.
All right, we're starting with.
I mean, it's all symbolic, right? Go
It's
for it.
symbolic. It's anger. So we're angry. Let's go, Dave. Let's go.
You got it, Dave.
Nope, it's pretty
Whoa!
strong. Dang.
Whoa!
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Well, I will say this. Pretty freaking sturdy charger. Here we go. And we got the iPhone.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
Wow.
That's actually, not going to smash that anymore because we're going to have shards of glass everywhere. So, here we
Safety
go.
issues. Safety issues.
Ah,
Yeah,
what
there's
else?
we've got some people that are so excited. So Eric is out there yes, destroy Apple, and it's proprietary software, right? Like a completely proprietary black box software, and it's crappy recycling program. Crappy. They say they recycle. Do they? We can talk about that later. Nicole
We'll
is
find out.
so
We'll find out
excited.
when I bring the
Yeah.
pieces of this back to Best Buy or whatever.
Heck
So,
yeah.
have we solved it? Have we
I don't
solved
know.
it?
I want you to destroy something from Starbucks, but I also want you to give me one of those so I can have it over ice.
I know, that's a good challenge.
It's hard because it's like I want it while simultaneously want to. I don't know. The things about it that I'm thinking about all the workers who are trying to organize.
And all the people who are the people who are trying to unionize, they did make this. So
You okay, Dave?
Yep.
Do we have a doctor on set? I hope we do.
I'm not that kind of doctor.
All right. So
Oh wow.
I see.
Is it a latte, Dave?
it's pretty delicious, to be honest.
I think that really gets at some of what's so problematic about the system. Well, you know, when you get something, well, what can be so problematic about the system? You enjoy it, you take part in it, we take part in it. How do we simultaneously support those who are working to either organize or to make it a better place, while also recognizing some of the super problematic things about the system?
And so we have Erica here is like, acknowledging and knowing that there are people that there are people fighting for their rights, right?
That's right.
Think is one thing. So like Starbucks did it. Amazon workers just unionized successfully. There's a meme when when Bezos was up in space, they were unionizing on the ground, right? So acknowledging that is good, but go ahead, Dave.
Not allow that. Didn't like Amazon say, "Oh, that vote doesn't count"?
No, they did, right? But
and that was one facility, right? And there are many other Amazon facilities, as well as many other Starbucks stores. They're going store by store and facility by facility. But there's certainly the sense that with the success of one union, that they will hopefully have some momentum, and it seems like they are developing momentum across the many stores or the many plants where folks work. So we are optimistic what that means for workers.
Yes. So like the movements are happening, knowing the movements are happening and supporting them, right? Like grad students are also organizing. Grad student unions are also organizing across the country. Knowing about that, if you're in education, really important. Support them if you can. I think, are there other companies that are trying like different models of labor? Do you guys know of any?
Well, yeah, there's lots of different models. I mean, well, even some because we've got Dunkin' Donuts here, which has some problems, but they're franchise, and there's even differences between franchise and corporate in terms of who owns what. And there's like worker-owned co-ops, and those are starting to spring up. And so I think there's small family-owned businesses, right? Where when you go in and the person who is working in the shop is the same person who owns the shop. That's a different model. So now, are there different models to Amazon? Are there different models to Apple? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's so we have Erica in chat saying, Ace Hardware is small business owned, right? They have a different way of organizing their labor. If you've been on Twitter following Channel Z, y'all know that like Dan Price is my idol. Look up Dan Price if you haven't heard of him.
Dan Price?
Dan Price, man, yeah, the CEO that gave up his $1 million paycheck so that he could pay his employees more, right? That's the kind of leadership we need. I wonder if now would also be the time to say, hey, we have Channel Z merch. You should check out our Channel Z merch, because our Channel Z merch, our Zombified media merch, actually supports this educational venture that we have right now. So yes, we're asking you to spend money, but we're asking you to spend money to support people. And I think maybe that's one of the difference. Oh, Dave, you have one.
Yes, this is from the ZAM 2020, but here we go. It's perfect to wear while you smash things or while you just wait in line at Starbucks, whatever you prefer.
So thank you for that ad break. Thank you for being here for that ad break, y'all. But I do want to turn. So we're talking about like creators and small businesses, and Erica's bringing up Etsy. It seems like a good option to support small businesses. And I don't know about y'all, but during the pandemic, I was like, I don't want to shop on Amazon all the time. I'll go to Etsy and see if I can find anything like that sellers are reusing. Right? Did y'all do that too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know if y'all heard, but if anyone hasn't heard, so this week, Etsy creators are actually striking. Do not cross the picket line this week. Do not buy from Etsy. A lot of creators are going on vacation, and they're doing that because of various things that are going on. So there's you can follow this Etsy.strike on Instagram. You can go to their website where there's more information. They're on strike this week. You can just boycott, look for ways outside of Etsy to support creators, because they're taking such a big percentage, and they're forcing them to do things like do certain types of shipping. Right. And Etsy is making millions of dollars off of these creators. It's turning into Amazon. Right. So y'all, we've smashed some things. We have been angry. I know I'm still angry, but what hope do we have? What could our viewers do today to resist this spell of capitalism? How do we resist this zombification? Dr. Kone, do you have any options? I mean, I'm ready with my sledgehammer, but I'm ready to be convinced that we can.
I'm ready too, Liz.
No,
I
right?
think the thing is, though it's a system that we participate in, it doesn't mean, and right, it's not like you were born and you were asked what kind of system do you want to participate in. If you're living in this context and you're participating in this system, I think it's important to be able to develop a critique about the system. Just because you live within it doesn't mean you can't be critical of it. What do they say? That another world is possible, right? But so part of that is envisioning what this other world could do. So some of that are points that we've spoken to, whether it is supporting workers who are trying to have greater voice within their company and greater voice over their labor, if it's supporting small business owners and trying to find ways of supporting small business, consciously thinking of the ways that we are spending our money. And I would say pushing back against some of these ideas. I'm still thinking of the comment we got earlier about this need to be working all of the time, or needing to be making every part of our lives somehow economically important, or something where we can make money off of it. So really thinking to resist that. And Liz, we've talked about this before. Some of that resistance is thinking through rest as a reasonable and active resistance to this notion that we always have to be working all of the time, or always need to be participating in the system of capitalism. So I would say develop a critique. Right? You live in it. You see it, right? And if you're not trying to hashtag girl boss or whatever hashtag is about working all the time, then be willing to talk about it and engage with these conversations with, community, peers, and so forth.
I love that. I love that. And that's what we can do as educators, right? Like that's what I can do as an educator. That's what I can do as a manager. That's what I can do, right? Is to bring that awareness. Now, I do want to say, y'all, I think like we've got some people commenting. We think the zombies did get Dave. Dave, we're kind of sorting out where you are. Wait, hold on. I think I see you. Dave, are you, hey, you're back. Are you okay?
I'm back. Yes.
Okay, great. I think maybe you smashed too many things. It was too loud. Did the zombies come?
Maybe there was, yes, it was. They don't like noise, and so or change. But I'm back, and so we can smash things, or we can also talk about solutions, or we can do both.
I like that. I think like let's sit and hope for a minute and then end with anger. I really like that. It's a motivation. So Dave, what do you think is what can we do to resist the spell of late stage capitalism? How can we resist becoming zombies? What's your solution?
Well, I think there's a couple of parts. So one thing, we had mentioned ACE, and if I'm not mistaken, one thing that's really interesting about ACE hardware is they actually switched back to being owned by the store owners. And so you can still make change. I think a lot of times corporations themselves get zombified, right? They need to grow, they need to survive. But if we can figure out ways to change their incentive structures, I really do think there are ways that perhaps Etsy could go more towards small business owned. I think obviously giving workers equity in companies is a good step. I mean, there's even talk of things like universal basic income, universal basic equity, like having people own stocks and things like where they get to decide. But I think there's a lot of solutions. So.
I'm gonna bring up this comment from Athena. Athena, thank you for being in chat. We're good to see you. But I like this. Ask for help if you're in need. Help if you are asked and able. There's a system for resource sharing, right? That makes everyone more resilient. And I have a book here that I would like to talk about for just a minute. And if you haven't read it, I really recommend you do. So Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity During This Crisis, and the next and the next. And there are people that influence this book as well that I can maybe put in the comments and we'll pin it after the show. But this is about, as you are building a better world and as you are working to change the system that is that is biased, that is income equality, that is racist, that is right, all of these things, also support each other. So there are mutual aid organizations out there that you can tap into today. And I'll bring up just an example locally here in Phoenix, Mutual Aid Phoenix, right? Just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a fridge and a freezer that was donated. You can leave what you don't need and you can take what you do need. Right. And that is the kind of philosophy of mutual aid and resource sharing. And I think that, there's some comments here, like I like charity driven capitalism, right? Things like that. There are systems that you can tap into. Just figure out where they are and figure out what you have the energy for. Does that sound good, y'all?
I think so. I think
Absolutely.
And shopping local, that helps.
That's right.
Shop local,
right.
shop reused. Go to go. Don't buy new clothes, right? Why are we buying new clothes? They're perfectly good used clothes.
It's a whole system, right? That you need to buy new clothes. But I would just add to it, respect workers, right? Workers really do make everything. So when we see folks trying to organize, or folks even discussing about it, really recognizing and respecting that we have these things called rights and that we ought to be able to organize around them so that we have greater rights. If anything, we've seen capitalists become extremely wealthy, particularly emphasized through the pandemic. And if you can see the growth and billions of dollars for the wealthiest and how that's affecting everyday people and not having access to that. So really just thinking critically about that, right? Do Bezos or the wealthiest of these capitalists, do they deserve billion times more dollars than the workers who make these things? And start with those questions, right? Do they do billions of dollars more work than the people who sent you your packages, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. That's a good question. That's a question that also makes me furious, right? Because I feel like the answer is really clear to me. No, they don't. So let's smash some things, right?
I have an Amazon. I have a surprise Amazon box. Who knows what's in it? So,
oh my gosh, I love it. Let's go, Dave.
Oh, you don't know what's in it? You're just gonna smash it?
I mean, we'll find out, right? Hopefully
that's right.
Puppies. So here we go. It's something I've ordered, so it's limited to something. Ready? It's really hard to smash these packages. They do. It was
What was it, Dave?
Roots tea and Mike and Ike's. So
Okay.
I'll leave that in there because this is good. So there we go.
Well, if any of those survived and you don't want them anymore, I know a really great local place you can drop them off for people in need, just in downtown Phoenix. So thank you. We're so happy to have you here, Mzilikazi, for this this kind of special crossover episode. Thanks for expanding the Channel Z universe with us again.
Thank you for inviting me. It's really great to be here.
Final thought? Yeah, final thoughts of Rage.
Final thoughts.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Be ready, everybody.
Great. Let's just go. All right, cool. All right. Thank you, Mzilikazi. Dave, so good that you got to join us from the secret zombie kill room. I think that, our final request from Athena is how do those candies look? So let's just put them up. Let's put them up to the camera real quick.
Let's see what we got here. So
people are really excited about
the
destroying things.
I knew I was going to be buying the Mike and Ike's, and I thought the Mike and Ike's were going to spill all over. But I also buy tea because I don't like having all the little bags, right? I feel like that's not good for the environment. But what happened is the tea broke. And the Mike and Ike's are fairly.
All right.
They're covered in tea. So
What I love is that this is a really good reminder that even if things are a little bit broken, they can be fixed, they can be mended, they can be reused, and they're always good. So I think with that, Dave, we're ready to wrap the show. So good to be destroying things with you and thinking about hopeful solutions.
Yeah, I'm thinking about ways we can build things up. So yeah. So thanks.
Thanks. So I just want to say, please join us next week. We have an episode of Zombie History with Dr. Kone. And be sure so that you can catch that to subscribe to Zombified Media. Go ahead, Dave.
And also, even if you've left a comment in chat, leave a comment down below. Again, it appeases the robots who run everything. And maybe a comment about what is a good future look like? A future where everybody is well compensated. And
yeah, what does that look like? What's the hope? Thank you so much. So thank you, Dave. Thanks everyone for joining us for this edition of Undead Live. Remember, the best way to protect your brains in the zombie apocalypse is to share them. See you next time.
It's crazy, but it seems so logical. I can't deny that there is something supernatural with you.